Before this video start guys, I want you to listen to this. I wanted to make a review of what if Naruto was from the two greatest clans. I wanted to make Minato a Uchiha and also Kushina a Senju. So tell me what you think about that guys. Should I remake it or switch it up or keep on continuing with that idea? It depends on you guys. I want you guys to comment down below and tell me what you think of that. And I'm currently in the process of rewriting What If Naruto Went Back in Time, so don't worry, that will be out soon. But tell me what you guys think. Do you want me to rewrite it? What if Naruto was from the two greatest clans? So yeah guys, go ahead and comment down below and tell me before you enjoy this video. So comment down below and tell me what you think. But for today, I'm going to be giving you part 29 of What If Kaguya was Naruto's mother. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and yeah, without further ado, let's begin this new episode. Begin the intro.
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. Girls with their
So, the last spot we left off, Naruto came back to Konoha after bringing Aisabu to the island, as Aisabu and the others are telling him that some guys in black robes and red clothes on them have been attacking them lately. They didn't try to capture them, they just attacked them. As Naruto came back, he met up with Anko, as the both of them went and got some sushi. We then had a time skip, as it was time for Koji, his graduation from the academy, as Mikoto came there along with Itachi, as Itachi was granted a day to see his brother. He slaughtered his entire clan because he wanted to stop the coup, as his mother was angry, but she was still his mother, and she begged Minato for a day for him so he could see Sasuke graduate, as half of his face was badly burned from Naruto pushing him into the Amaterasu. As Hinata was also there along with Koji, as they all graduated from the academy along with Sasuke. As we then had another time skip, Koji was placed on Team 7 as Naruto was in the office with Kushina, as Minato told them that they are asking for an extraction team in the land of Wave, as Naruto asked how long the extraction team will take, and it will take 3 days. So Naruto tell them that he's going on a vacation to the land of waves, as Minato understood. If he was on a vacation, they couldn't say that he was interfering with shinobi matters. And with that, Naruto headed off. He arrived there as he saw the poor state of the wave village, as he came to see Koji and the others in the room. As Naruto asked what happened, as Koji told him that Tazuna lied about the mission, as Naruto told him if he ever do something like this to put his grandson in trouble again, they will have a problem. As for the rest of the day, Naruto talked with Kakashi, as he told Kakashi if he's not fit to be their Jonin sensei, he must retire. Kakashi tried to kill himself after finding out that Obito was alive, and he went down that dark path. Luckily, Minato was there as Kakashi found himself in the hospital after Minato brought him to the hospital, as he realized how stupid that was. As Naruto told him, plain, if he's not fit, he must retire as their sensei. Later in the night, Naruto then woke up Kakashi and told him that the house is surrounded, as they all went downstairs along with Tazuna and the others, as Segetsu was out there, along with 2 other missing nin, and they were surrounded by bandits. The entire house was surrounded, as they begged Naruto to help them, as Naruto told them he will deal with the bandit and Kakashi deal with the rest of them. And with that, he headed outside. So yeah guys, that was basically the last part we left off. You guys can switch across the place and check it out for yourself, so let's start this new episode. Naruto was now outside, as he turned his attention to the woods, as he started a slow walk into the forest, as he could sense all of their chakra around him. He could feel them hiding behind bushes and trees on the path to Tazuna's house. But as he got closer, they peeked out from their cover. As he stepped in the dead center, pretending like he hadn't seen them, one of them decided to act, as the man slowly unsheathed his weapon and was sneaking up behind Naruto. Naruto spun around and grabbed the man's hand and held on to his sword and drive it right through his skull, as he released the man's body and he dropped to the ground a thud. As Naruto kneeled down and picked up the dagger, as he tossed it in the forest, as an unlucky mercenary who was peeping out got stabbed right through the chest as he collapsed dead. As Naruto looked down at the dead mercenary at his feet, he just used a dagger but he had a sword at his side. It wasn't anything fancy, but it would do for now, as he picked up the katana. As several mercenaries jumped out, wanting to avenge their fallen comrade. As Naruto spun and took off 3 heads with one spin. As he brought the blade over his shoulder to deflect another blade. He then flipped his hand up as the blade was knocked out of the man's hand, as he drove it straight to his chest and pulled it back. As Naruto grabbed the man and tossed him around, as a few arrows tear right through his back. As Naruto saw the mercenaries with bow. As Naruto moved with incredible speed and appeared in front of all of them. With one quick motion, their body fell to the ground, dead. As Naruto heard a roar as he brought up his sword and blocked a sword swipe from a mercenary. "Got you now!" said a yell from his right side. As he turned to his right to see a mercenary, and one of them also attacking him from the front. They were planning some sort of strategy since the first time they started to fight. As one of them were holding his sword with his own, trying to distract him while the other two tried to impale him from the other sides. As he saw more archers as they fire arrow at him at the same time, the world then started to slow down as Naruto enters with release. As Naruto stepped forward, it was about 5 minutes to Naruto, but to the world it was just a second. When the world sped up back, the arrows fly past him and impacted their own mercenary friends. As they didn't understand, they were shocked as arrows stabbed right into their mercenary friends as blood sprayed everywhere. The mercenary to his right and his left dropped. The only one was the one in front of him, as he was shaking looking at Naruto. As that hesitation caused him, as Naruto removed his head from his shoulders. As Naruto dashed forward and went to deal with the rest of the archers. As the world slowed down again, as they fired off a bunch of arrows. The next thing they knew, it impacted some of their own friends as they didn't understand what the hell was going on. As more mercenaries stepped in front of Naruto, trying to protect the rest of the archers. As the first one rushed towards Naruto with a gauntlet on his arm with spikes on it as he drove it down, but Naruto sliced as the man's arm fell to the ground. He cried out in pain as Naruto plunged his sword right into the man's chest. A second later, Naruto ducked as a war hammer teared through the space where his head was. The man turned his weapon down and attempted to crush Naruto with it, but Naruto twisted his body as the weapon slammed into the ground. As Naruto took off the man's arm as his war hammer dropped to the ground, Naruto then sliced as the man's head fell off his shoulders. Naruto then jumped up in the air as a mercenary tried to stab him right in his stomach. As Naruto delivered a brutal kick to the man's face, then knocked him away several feet as he slammed into a tree. Whether he was dead or not, Naruto didn't care as he advanced the archers. As he picked up the warhammer and started spinning it around at incredible speed, as most of them were beyond shock. How could he do that? That weapon, you need to have great strength to wield it, but this man was wielding it like it was nothing. As Naruto swung the weapon forward, crushing bones, taking off heads, crushing chests. A brave mercenary tried to take on Naruto, but he simply swung the weapon, took off the man's head in one quick motion. As Naruto was swinging it so fast, it was like a blur. As Naruto then pushed off and propelled himself over to the archers. As the archers started to get scared, as they knew he would land right here, as a few of them tried to lock arrows, but they didn't have enough time as he was coming. Then he was among them. His massive hammer smashed into an archer's chest, breaking every single bone inside of the man, as the man crushed into the ground that thud. As Naruto swung it around, knocking away all of them. As he then drove it into the ground, as the earth exploded, sending their body up into the air. As Naruto spun the warhammer, as it teared through their body like knife running through a butter, as blood splattered everywhere. Naruto then turned around as he saw a woman and man, the rest of the mercenaries, as neither of them wanted to fight him anymore. As Naruto gripped the handle of his warhammer and raised it over his head. Then Naruto brought the hammer down, smashing the flat head right into the ground. As the earth split and rised up, as the stones and the trees that were rooted up started to sink back down to the ground. As they came down, crushing most of the people, as tremors could be felt all over a wave. Kakashi and his opponent both stopped as they felt the place shaking. Kakashi pushed any worry out of his mind as he knew that Naruto was there and the power he must display to finish off the mercenaries. That was him. As Kakashi once more engaged Suigetsu in combat. As Suigetsu was wielding Zabuza's blade, as Kakashi knew how protective Zabuza was for his blade, so where was he? Did Suigetsu kill him? Because Suigetsu has taken the blade for 3 months now, why weren't an entire Kiri force after him? As Kakashi wondered, was he that skilled to avoid all of them or take them out? Meanwhile, Zabuza coughed as he pushed the rubble off of him. Damn it, he said as he got to his feet. As he looked for his partner, Karumi, he said. The dust that was kicked up by the Namikaze attack made it impossible for him to see 5 feet in front of him. I'm here, said a voice. As Zabuza turned to see his companion appear through the dust, Mei Terumi, as she looked slightly worse for wear. She had several cuts on her skin. She was wearing a blue dress. But other than that, she looked relatively unharmed. Let's go back to camp. We will have to rest and regroup, she said. But Zabuza scowled. They had been set up far away from Namikaze attack to escape without any serious injuries. But it did not stop the tree that they were perched on to be rise up in the air and came plummeting back down to the ground. But Zabuza was still willing to continue. He wanted his sword back. Not without my sword. That bastard isn't going to touch it for any longer, he said. Mei frowned at her partner's stubbornness. In case you haven't noticed, we're out of our league here. Namikaze will destroy us, and you won't ever get your precious sword back. And if you had wait a few days for the rest of the squad to prepare, we could have continued, but now we can't. Hey, I didn't ask you to follow me, said Zabuza. You have a problem the way I do things? Go ahead and take it up with the Mizukage. Until then, you either do what I say or stay out of my way. Both of you shut up, said a voice, as Mei reached for a kunai as Zabuza reached for a katana in its sheath, a normal katana. Out of the dust cloud stepped one person that they hoped to avoid, Namikaze. Irritate me a lot, and the luck that caused the both of you to survive will run out rather quickly, Naruto said. Zabuza growled as he stepped into a fighting stance, but Mei placed a hand on his shoulder as he turned. But he shrugged his shoulder, removing her hand. We mean no harm, Mei said quickly, as she realized the situation they were in. While Zabuza was only focused on getting his sword back, she was thinking. There was no way she was throwing her life away for that sword, no matter how much her village wanted it, after that bastard Suigetsu stole it. Despite being a civilian, the fourth Hokage father has shown that he would tear apart anyone that comes in his way. While his victory over Orochimaru was the most noticeable, and the way he dispatched the kidnappers who tried to take his grandson, he has shown that his bloodline is just more than speed. He can use it in many ways. And also, he used that ability to stop Madara Uchiha, a man who claimed to be Madara, but his actual name was Obito. Regardless who they was, it was the way they were killed that caught the attention of Kiri. We are merely retrieving some of our village lost property, said Mei. And I suppose you intended to do this only after Kakashi had made your property tired, Naruto said. Mei grimaced at the words. She and Zabuza were waiting for Kakashi to make Suigetsu weaken. At that point, they would sweep in, either capture or killing Suigetsu and retrieve the sword. Kakashi's death, whether at the hand of them or Suigetsu, was a bonus, because they could get the large bounty on the Copy Ninja's head. We were scoping the situation, Mei said eventually. We would have helped Kakashi-san, however, our recent injuries forced us to make a retreat, she said, praying that Namikaze would accept this excuse. While she could feel a few injuries on herself and see a few injuries on Zabuza, they were in no way able to stop them from attacking Suigetsu. As Mei just wanted to focus on retreating, and getting that idiot's sword. The sooner they get it, the sooner they could leave this country. Do you take me for a fool? As May tense, realizing that her situation was no more dangerous, her eyes flickered to Zabuza as she noticed a man was tensing his muscles, ready to fight. She refrained at the idiot to not do whatever he thought he was going to do, because she knew him. They wouldn't win this if they fight. As many shinobis were aware of the danger that Namikaze posed in battle, that his powers could equal, if not surpass, his sons. But there was also those who didn't care whether they were arrogant, stupid, or just idiot. They didn't care about the warning. And Zabuza was one of them. He would try to attack the man, it didn't matter what he heard. As May thought of something, Kiri is not on the best terms with Konoha. Using a political way, interfering in a mission could, but she couldn't get a finish as Zabuza jumped off, as he was trying to cut Naruto straight in half with his sword. As for a moment there, May thought he could. Years of working with that giant sword has made him more skilled when it comes to normal swords, as they were far lighter. It was less than half a second that he crossed the distance, moving at such speed as May thought he could do it. As she watched as the blade was coming down towards Namikaze's shoulder. But the next movement was the fastest that she ever seen in her life. As Naruto grabbed Zabuza's sword and delivered a devastating punch that made his windpipe collapse as Naruto hit him right in the throat. Immediately, one of Zabuza's hands went to his throat as he crashed into the ground, eyes widened as he just realized what happened. As Zabuza coughed, as May noticed the face mask color changing as he was coughing up blood. As she realized what is going on, Zabuza had internal bleeding and no medic ninja around. She knew the basic in medical ninjutsu. As for that, she couldn't heal this injury. For a moment their eyes connected as she watched as fear came on his face as he realized the situation they were in. He would die here, there was no change in that. But he's not dead yet. As he got to his feet, as he coughed up more blood, as the blood ran down his cheek, as he reached down to a holster on his thigh and he pulled the kunai out, as he pointed at Naruto. "Get the sword," he said to May, as blood was in his windpipe. He couldn't even talk properly. As he leaped at Naruto, as soon as he was near enough, he did not aim for an upper attack. He dropped and tried to sweep away Naruto's legs from under him. But a brutal kick slammed his head into the ground, as his head snapped back with a force. As May watched his eyes, looked up, as she saw the life leave him, as he was dead. Kiri has lost another swordsman. May was shaking as she turned and faced Namikaze, turning away from her dead comrade. His eyes showed no remorse for the death that he had inflicted on Zabuza or the masked mercenaries before that. It unnerved her that he didn't feel anger at Zabuza's attempt to kill him, or that he just murdered a mass load of mercenaries. His eyes gave nothing away. For several seconds, all she could do was stare at the man. As the tensions in her shoulder grew heavier, she couldn't run, he would catch her. As she started to get scared, she wanted to go home and lie in her bed. She wanted to become perfect with her bloodline. She wanted to become just like her mother. She wanted to meet a nice man and settle down. She didn't want to die. "Leave." As May's eyes went wide, surprised to hear what he said. "And tell your leader to keep a better watch on their shinobi." As she quickly started back away once the word got registered in her mind, keeping an eye on him. But she watched as he turned around, as she quickly got out of there. She didn't pay that much attention to the area that she ran in. She just knew that she had to get out of there. As Naruto turned back around as he watched her run away, she wanted to leave as just when he destroyed the band of mercenaries, but her male companion forced her to stay. He wouldn't kill her for the man's stupidity and stubbornness, because she tried to find a way to get out of there even when confronted, although it was a lie. Although her partner had attacked him and paid for it, she still wasn't drawn into the fight, so he would let her go. As Naruto then felt a flare of chakra as he sighed, Kakashi was still fighting the missing nin that he encountered in the day. as he turned in the direction and walked towards the two chakra swords that were fighting. As the world around him slowed down, as he activated swift release, as he strolled over bodies and walked over crumbling trees and destroyed ground, as he saw Tazuna's house as he exited the forest, as he could see Koshi and his teammates looking through the window of Tazuna's house, as they were watching him, as there was awe in his face, Koshi's, and of the pink-haired girl and that Uchiha, as Naruto put those looks out of his mind as he continued. As Naruto walked on the water, as Naruto saw the enemy with a large sword and Kakashi with kunai ready to clash again. Walking out to the two, Naruto wondered what he should do. While he wanted to end this entire situation, he didn't want to fight Kakashi's battle for him. Eventually he satisfied himself on something to end this quickly, but not fight Kakashi's battle for him. As Naruto removed the sword from Shigetsu's hand, as Naruto could sense a lot of seals were in this sword. As he studied all of them, it only took a minute. This sword, the seals on it, took blood from the iron that it got on it to regenerate. So long as enough of the blade was left, it could regenerate from any damage that it took. As Naruto then moved back with the sword, as he allowed the world to speed up. Meanwhile, in a dark underground cave, what did they want in exchange? A man asked. As he was talking to a blue-haired woman. They wanted our assistance in a plan that they're going to undertake in a few months' time, but they promise us immediate access after it is carried out, which is, the leader said. I don't know, the blue-haired woman said, but they have sent a messenger to answer any question that we have regarding it. They seem sure that we would agree. He is currently waiting outside. Very well, the leader said. Bring him in. Now, said a voice. As the blue-haired woman created several paper shuriken as it dashed towards a voice, but all of them were incinerated. Behind the woman, the rest of the organization became tense as they unsheathed their weapons. That wasn't very nice, the same voice said again. Just like it wasn't nice to make me wait. You are the one that the stone sent, the leader said, showing no fear. Of course, but where are my manners? Stepping out of the shadows, a black-haired man with slit eyes smiled to the Akatsuki organization, his gaze looking at the ringed purple eyes of his leader. My name is Orochimaru, and the plan is rather simple. Time skip, Naruto was in the shrine of the Namikaze compound garden as he felt footsteps coming towards him, but he didn't say anything. They might not be approaching to talk to him, but they might be looking for peace in the garden. It was a long shot since he has never seen anyone use a garden for the privacy that it provided, except for himself. But there was always a first time for everything. Despite these thoughts, he knew it was Kushina as he prepared himself to speak to her. As she walked up the steps of the shrine and came to a stop, but she still said nothing to him. A second later, she sat down, facing Naruto's front. For almost a minute after she had sitting down, she was silent. As Naruto wondered if she was waiting for him to acknowledge her presence. As he was about to open his eyes and greet her, before she started speaking, Naruto, she said, as she was hesitant of talking, I know that I don't really have much of a reason to ask this. As Naruto opened his eyes as he groaned as the words reached him, but he showed no external change. So this was going to be one of those talks when someone is going to ask him to do something. Perfect. I was wondering if you could train Koshi like how you did Minato in Genten. Swift release, she said, as she was holding on to her hair. Before I say anything, why do you want me to? Naruto asked. Even you must realize that Koshi is too immature to have such power in his grasp. I know, she said. Koshi may took after his father, but he's too young and he make a few mistakes. I know he's too young, but couldn't you? But Naruto cut her off. I am still waiting for a reason, Kushina, he asked. For several seconds she said nothing, but Naruto could see that she was arguing with herself inside on how to approach him and talk. Minato told me what you said to Kakashi, she said. About what you said, about him fixing his issues or resigning as Koji sensei. Minato disagrees with you. Naruto wasn't surprised by that. He knew that Minato plays Kakashi. He had full trust in him. And it wasn't going to disappear in one bad mission, but Naruto faith in him was not sturdy at all. And while I love Kakashi like a little brother, Kushina said, after a mission to Wave, my confidence in him isn't as strong as it once was. He nearly lost to someone who he could handle with ease years ago. I just don't think he's in the right frame of mind to take on Jennings, especially who that could be potential target, she said. As Naruto knew she was talking about Koji and Sasuke, Sasuke being a Uchiha heir, and Koji being the Hokage's son. And because you cannot get him removed, you came to me, Naruto said, as Kushina gave him a small nod. Part of me doesn't want to replace him with someone else. I know that Kakashi had a lot to offer, that he has a main grasp over all the shinobi arts. In some ways, he could help Koji decide what kind of shinobi he wants to be, more than Minato or myself. I can't help you, Kushina, Naruto said. Koji's immaturity is too great of a hindrance and danger both to himself and others, with the kind of power he could obtain. Kushina gave a small nod, but she didn't look too surprised at the decision. But also, while it is possible for Koji to learn to mold his chakra correctly, to form the chakra he needs for swift release, it will take years to learn, even if I started today. But Koji has the same Kekkei Genkai as Minato, and Minato picked it up the same day that you trained him, she said. As I said before, Koji lacked the talent for Jinten that Minato did. It was that talent that allowed Minato to pick up Jinten as quick as he did. An easier way to put it would be to say that Koji doesn't have the Kekkei Genkai that Minato does. How can you tell? Kushina asked, a frown on her face. And why should he still be able to use Jinten even if he doesn't have the Kekkei Genkai for it? While it was never confirmed that Koji had Jinten, it was mainly assumed that he had it, seeing that his grandfather and his father had it. Due to the lack of control of chakra at his birth, and up till he received training, a person's chakra is heavily influenced by emotions, Naruto said. At an infant, a person's control is non-existent, and thus their chakra flare around like a fish outside of water. Thankfully, because of a child's small chakra capacity, anything that happened would be internal. For Minato, the flow of his chakra at an infant was fast, speeding up and slowing down again and again. Koji has shown none of this, and this led me to believe that he doesn't show the natural talent for it. As for how he could still use it without the Kekkei Genkai, all chakra natures are available to anyone. Those who have a natural control over certain natures merely have an easier time getting a good grasp over them. And before you ask, he said, the reason why this isn't common knowledge is because everyone who knows how to do this is either dead or thought that keeping the information secret is a good thing. If you don't mix the chakra nature together correctly, the bad part of that would be your body parts exploding. Kushina merely keep her mouth shut as she felt to worry for Minato, knowing that he was threading a fine line whenever he used his bloodline. She also felt much better that Koji wasn't able to do that. So, you're saying that there's nothing more I can do to help Koji, she asks. I am training him. Kakashi is training him, and he sometimes goes off to train by himself. Is there anything more he can do? There's not much that you can do that you're not already doing, Kushina. All you can do is train him to the best of your abilities. Teach him what you can. The rest is up to him. I see, she said, as she was clearly disappointed, wanting to have more safety to her son, and what Naruto told her didn't give her any more of that. I am sorry I can't be much more help, Naruto said. No, it's okay, she said, giving him a soft smile. Thank you for letting me speak with you, she said. It's fine, Kushina. If you ever need anything, don't be afraid to ask. Sensing the end of the conversation, Kushina stood up. I'm going to make some lunch for myself and Minato when he takes his break. Would you like to join us? Naruto nodded in the offer. I would love to, he said. Time skip. Naruto took in a deep breath as he then released. As Naruto was in the shrine, as he was currently testing the limit of light, nature chakra, or light release for short, previous experiment made Naruto become invisible by bending the light around him. As he took a breath to steady himself, as he started to work, lightning chakra combined with yang chakra, as he sent it to his eyes, as they became pale yellow, as his vision changed. As Naruto could see everything around him without even looking, he could see Anko on top of the shrine as she was trying to surprise him. He could see a distance away without even looking. As he cut the chakra going towards his eyes, as Anko acted, she jumped in the shrine through the open window. As Naruto turned his body, as she passed right by him and fell outside. Naruto was about to complain about how she's always ruined his meditation, but he then saw a grin on her face, and he didn't bother. She wouldn't listen to him. Eventually, after a few moments of silence, Anko's grin went away. "Come on," she said. "Aren't you going to say anything? You weren't doing anything, so there was nothing for me to interrupt," said Anko. As Naruto sighed, while he didn't hate her being here, she had interrupted his training, if one could call it that, and he wanted to get back to it. "What is it, Anko? Why were you smiling?" he asked, as she perked back up. "I was given a position of great responsibility. I am the proctor of the second stage of the Chunin exams." As Naruto heard the excitement in her voice as she spoke, as he gave her a small smile as she started to ramble on about what she was going to do for the proctor of the second exam. "I actually really need to think what I'm going to set up for the second stage," Anko said. "I think if my tasks look that I put a lot of thought into it, I might be able to convince the Hokage that I'm ready for a Jonin rank." "Congratulations, Anko. I knew my son wouldn't give you that obligation unless it was well earned." Anko gave a grin back as her cheeks turned slightly red from his words, something that Naruto didn't pay any attention to. Time skip. Naruto swallowed the food too fast as he coughed. "Sorry, I swallowed my food too fast." Before chewing, he said. As he looked at Koji, "Continue?" As Koji nodded as he started to talk again, his parents and his grandfather was there. "So Kakashi said that all we need to do was turn up with the papers 2 days from now and we will be taking the Chunin exams," Koji said with an excited look on his face. "Isn't this great?" he said. "I could be a Chunin soon." "Congratulations, Koji," Kushina said excitedly, as she moved around the table to hug her son and place a kiss into his yellow hair. "I knew that you would be offered a place in the exams. You worked too hard not to," she said. "Well done, Koji," said Minato, as he moved over and hugged them as well. As Naruto watched as Koji smiled widened as his father gave him praise. Time skip. It was the feeling of the Biju's chakra, Shikaku's. Naruto sensed it, as it was a few days into the Chunin exams, as Naruto knew something was wrong. Shikaku was one of the 3 Bijus that he hadn't get a hold of yet, and it appeared that one of the nation had loosened their grip on him. As Naruto activates Swift Release, as he arrived to the Forest of Death. As Naruto arrived to a tower, as he entered, as he saw 2 steer away, as he saw his grandson facing off against a Jinchuriki, with Shikaku's body spurting from him, his sand covering half of the boy's body. While the legs were still human, his upper body was covered in sand and looked like Shikaku. As Naruto quickly went down there and saved Koji from several tentacles of sand, as the Jinchuriki host cried out, "I am going to prove my existence." As Naruto moved in front of Koji and knocked away the sand tentacles and sent the Jinchuriki flying back. As Naruto turned to see Koji was not there. "Gigi?" As Naruto turned to see Koji at the balcony with Minato. "Dad," said Minato, as they couldn't get to talk much. "You," said the Jinchuriki. "Mom is calling for you. She wants your blood. She wants your death." As Naruto jumped back and dodged sand tentacles. As Naruto appeared behind him as he was about to strike, but the hand came from the back as Naruto had to jump back and dodge it. But Naruto then brought his hand down as he snapped off the sand arm. As Naruto thrust his hand forward as the sand completely enveloped his hand, but he swinged his arm towards the wall and thrust the Jinchuriki into it. As Naruto appeared above him and drive his hand down in his back with a small amount of chakra, as all the sand was blasted off of him, Naruto grabbed the boy and pinned him against the wall as he looked at him. It was a boy, no older than Koji, with short red hair, deep rings around his eyes, and a pale complexion. As Naruto moved his sash to see the boy's stomach, as he looked at the seal, as Naruto wondered who created this abomination. The person who created the seal must be in a rush, because this was just a storage seal for the person to have a mental link with Shikaku and then draw on the chakra. But Shikaku's mind was connected to that mental link, so Shikaku's will could take over. As Naruto saw the boy raise his arm and try to attack him, "Swift release, dead space," Naruto said as he touched the boy in his arms. As the boy couldn't move his arms anymore, wondering what the hell is going on. It was similar to how Naruto restrained the Raikage. His mind couldn't send the command to his hand as his arm was moving at a very slow pace. As the boy started to mutter to himself, "No, no, 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 no," he screamed. "You won't erase my existence. I won't let you." "Plain possum technique," the boy said. As Naruto knew that the boy had opened his seal entirely, as sand exploded around them. As the Biju started to form, "Dad," said Minato. As Naruto turned to see Koji clutching onto Minato, as Koji had a worried look on his face, seeing Shikaku building. As Naruto had already jumped back. "Take Koji and join the other civilians in the evacuation. I can take care of this," said Minato. Shikaku is nothing like the Kyuubi, as Naruto knew this was a delicate situation, especially with Shikaku involved. As Naruto knew he would have to get him another way, as he held on to Koji and he vanished in a blur. "I'm free," said Shikaku. As Naruto made his way into the village, he knew that something was wrong. Shinobi was in a panic as they were dashing across the rooftop. This wasn't related to Shikaku. The messenger that Minato sent couldn't have spread the message so quickly. Shikaku wasn't visible either. The massive trees of Training Ground 44 made the Biju's appearance unseen, as he noticed that many shinobis were moving to the village wall as they were armed. While Minato didn't specify where he was to drop Koji off, he decided that the entrance of the shelter was the best place. As Naruto came to the entrance at the base of the Hokage's monument, as Naruto came to a stop as he released Swift Release at the entrance. "Are you alright, Koji?" Naruto asked. As Koji nodded. "I'm going to be joining them, Koji. I assume that you have a place that you need to be," Naruto said. "Yeah, the Genins are supposed to meet up at the academy building for assignment. I should get going," Koji said. Naruto wanted Koji to stay with him, but he knew that Koji would protest. As Naruto gave him a hug, "Stay safe, Koji." "I will, I promise," he said. As Koji turned and leapt away, as Naruto watched him for several seconds, as he started to go where the civilians were evacuating. As Naruto saw a shadow pass over his face, no bird should be flying at this moment, given the chakra that Shikaku was releasing. As Naruto looked up at the person came closer, as he saw white wings. It was a girl. Blue hair. As he saw the eyes. "No, it can't be," he said, as she thrust her arms forward. "Explosive tag shower," she said, as her skin peeled off like paper. The shinobi on the ground retaliate with techniques of their own. Fire, lightning, and water. The two sides clashed in an explosion in the center that had the civilians screaming. But then, the explosive tags started to curve around the shinobis and dodging the attacks. As the paper tags hit the ground and exploded, the woman's wings flapped as she made her way around. As she was close enough for Naruto to see her eyes, golden eyes, as he saw a small origami flower in her ear. As Naruto couldn't believe it. Konan? His little Konan? As Naruto leaped onto rooftops. "Stop," he said, as he jumped across a rooftop to another rooftop. "Konan, stop," he cried out. As Konan stopped, as she twisted around and faced the person who called out to her. But guys, we end this episode right here. If you want the next part of this, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn that bell notification to stay posted. Remember to share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And yeah guys, I'm out for now. Peace.